Hey y'all, happy Monday. It is Monday, January 27th, the last Monday of January. And as ever, I am Dr. Erin, one of the Good Doctors of Abbey Research, here with today's Good Doctors Diagnose. And this one is a little bit of a follow-up to one that Dr. Kristen and I did on the 13th of this month, where we talked about reasonable accommodation in the workplace. So if you aren't sure what reasonable accommodation is, or you want to backtrack and watch that video first, I've put the link below for those of you who wish. But I want to talk about this idea of reasonable accommodation, which is a concept put forth in the Americans with Disabilities Act. But we kind of extend it beyond to ask the question, what kind of reasonable accommodations can you make in your office, even if you aren't trying to be ADA compliant? But I wanted to talk specifically about how we reasonably or don't reasonably accommodate pregnant women. So I watched a piece on one of my favorite Sunday morning shows called Sunday Morning on CBS that talked about pregnancy or protection for pregnant women against discrimination in the workplace. And the Pregnant Women's Discrimination Act, or the Pregnancy Discrimination Act, was passed in 1978. But the piece really argues that pregnant women are still facing a lot of discrimination when it comes to getting jobs, keeping jobs, and receiving treatment or accommodation for their pregnancy while they're at work. And so I think it's really important when we're talking about how we can be reasonably accommodating, even if we're not necessarily trying to be compliant with any laws, but just coming at it from a leadership perspective and a perspective of empathy and understanding. What can we do in our office to help our pregnant colleagues? A story that I remember reading in Sheryl Sandberg, who's the COO of Facebook, in her book Lean In, was where she talked about the fact that when she was pregnant, she still had her parking space was still several aisles back from the front of the building, and her feet and ankles were starting to swell as her pregnancy progressed. And she finally went to her managers and said, can we have pregnancy parking? Because I really can't walk this far from where my car is parked. And it was one of those things that the leadership at Facebook hadn't considered, because the leadership heretofore had not been pregnant because they were men. And so they accommodated her, and they changed the parking around so that they now have pregnancy parking. So there are things we can do around our office. Women who are pregnant have different needs in terms of eating, in terms of using the restroom and taking breaks. And there are ways that we can help our pregnant colleagues, because it can be potentially economically very, very hard for women to become pregnant and to stay working throughout their pregnancy. And so, I wanted to encourage you with this video to think about some of the ways in which you can help your pregnant colleagues, whether it's just giving them more bathroom breaks because they need it. They have a human pressing on their bladder. That's not an easy place to be in. And ways that we can practice empathy and understanding in the workplace without being forced on the basis of discrimination legislation to protect our colleagues and to provide a safe and workable working environment for them. So those are the few thoughts I wanted to leave you with for this Monday. We'll be back on Wednesday with the next Good Doctors Diagnose. Until then, take care.